To learn more, visit kia.com. And by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. Kyle Davies has had a bad time over his last 5 starts, and now he's trying to put it together today against the Cardinals. And this is a team that gave him a bad time last year, beating him twice, scoring 9 runs in less than 9 innings. So what does he need to do today? Split. Let's look at the key report.
Well, it all starts with the strike zone. He's got to find a way to deliver the fastball and the breaking ball in for a strike against a patient ball club. You see all the walks he's given up his last 3 times out. It actually could have been worse. Only half a dozen of them have found a way to score. And really like to get something going here at Kauffman Stadium. He should be comfortable here now. He's been here the last 3 years.
Might be a good time to face the Cardinals. They've scored 3 runs in their last 3 games. Frank, here's the M&I Bank batting order.
Well, Skip Schumacher, Ryan, had 3 hits last night, and he's really done a great job in the leadoff spot. He's hitting .500 in interleague play. And Matt Holliday has moved down to the number 4 spot. He was 0 for 4 last night, and he'll be looking to get started in that spot today.
Scott Pasetnik wasn't the only Royal with 3 hits last night. After a great road trip, Alberto Callaspo picked up here in Kansas City, where he left off on the road with 3 hits. It's the Royals and the Cardinals in Game 2, and the first pitch. By Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. And a hot one at Kauffman Stadium today, and out braving the heat and the sun is Joel Goldberg.
Well, up here on the party deck, I actually got a little bit of a breeze up here. There's a big Fox Sports contingent, some from St. Louis, some from Kansas City. All, Ryan, we'll take a look at how the Royals handle Albert Pujols today. Went very well last night. And Albert, well, Ned Yost certainly faced him a lot when he was with Milwaukee, and he said, you know, you don't want to just pitch around him every time. First off, the fans want to see him pitch to him. The pitchers are competitive. They want to go out there and compete. And you have to remember, if he's batting 300, that still means that he's getting out 7 out of every 10 times. Most of the time he's come to Kauffman Stadium, he has gotten hits here. But last night, the Royals were able to hold him hitless. He did say, Ned Yost, that if the situation dictates it, you definitely want to pitch around him. But they're going to try to be aggressive with him, guys.
All right, thanks, Joel. We'll split in your day. Who was Albert Pujols, and how did you approach him?
Well, everybody had an Albert Pujols type to me, somebody in the middle of the order. Every team had somebody that kind of owned you a little bit. I always thought the focus was get the guys in front of him. That gives you a little room to work around him.
Ball one on Skip Schumacher, who has hit a lot like Albert Pujols the last 2 years against the Royals. And the Royals should get him out to begin the game. Billy Butler comes down the line. So Schumacher, with 3 hits last night, is 0 for 1. 90 degrees. And it is very windy right to left. Game started on time at 1:10. And the time and temp brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. So balls hit in the air to left center field. And to left field will get some help, but you're really going to have to put a charge into one to right field. This is Nick Stavinoa, was not in the lineup last night, so he's in right field. Randy Wynn was in right. He's on the bench. 1 ball, 1 strike to Stavinoa. So Randy Wynn is out, and so is Ryan Ludwig. Miles will be the designated hitter today. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Frank, you never really know what you're going to get from Tony La Russa Ball Club as far as the lineup. He loves to tinker with it day in and day out, especially day game after a night game, especially games in interleague play because of the DH.
Well, that's true, and I think he tries to get all of his guys some at-bats. The ones that haven't been getting a lot of at-bats. And Stavinoa had a good game against us last year in interleague play. Good power to right center field. But the biggest thing with Tony is that you never know what lineup you're going to get.
Here are the Royals defensively today, presented by Suzuki. Posednik, Meyer, DeJesus in the outfield. Callaspo, Betancourt, Aviles, Butler on the infield. And it's a start for Brian Pena behind the plate for Kyle Davies. Well, as we were just talking about, the best way to pitch to a guy like Albert Pujols is to get the guys out around him or in front of him. And now he hits one a mile high. Mike Aviles makes the play. And a great start for Kyle Davies, needing only 7 pitches.
Jose would say, I'm not hitting the ball as hard as I want to, but I'm getting the base hits. And Alberto Caspo, another guy, 3 for 3 last night.
Here's the key report on right-hander Blake Hawksworth.
Well, his last time out was as a starter. A 4-inning pitch, gives up a half a dozen runs. He really did well out of their bullpen. That's why he's in as the number 5 guy right now. You see a fastball in the mid-90s, inconsistent slider. He needs to get to his changeup. That means he needs to get ahead in the count. Changeup on many days is his best outing.
Strike one to Scott Posednik. A 3-hit game last night and a triple with one out in the bottom of the third inning, and that got the Royals going. They scored 3. Royals also added a run in the 8th, but all they needed was the 3-run bottom of the third. Pujols backs up, but he is called off by Aaron Miles, or Schumacher rather. So Posednik is down, and now Mike Aviles. Here are the Cardinals defensively, presented by Suzuki, with Holiday, Rasmus, Stavinoa in the outfield, Freese, Ryan, Schumacher, and Pujols around the horn, and the starter Yadier Molina is behind the plate. It was Jason LaRue, the backup, taking the start last night.
They haven't gotten the stability up the middle with their middle infielders the way they did last year. I think that's a point of concern for them early on.
Well, I think so. You know, the one thing you want to do here with the pitching, Paul, is that you just want to make sure that your top 3 guys do what they're supposed to do, and you hope that your 4th and 5th starters can kind of help you out. But right now, the Cardinals have a hard time with their 4th and 5th starter.
We'll see the number 3 here tomorrow.
Aviles gets it through the right side. Mike lost a 6-game hitting streak last night, going 0 for 4. Moves up to the number 2 position today, and the Royals have 1 on, 1 out in the first inning. So Jason Kendall getting the day off, and that's why Aviles moves up to the number 2 spot. And here's David DeJesus. And a very rare hitless game for him last night, the way he's been swinging in June. He was 0 for 4. And also banged his knee up against the barrier wall late in the game, trying to make a sliding play.
Yeah, I talked to him about it, Ryan. He said he had that knee sleeve on, and that really helped him a lot. He said it felt real good after the game. He didn't even have to ice after the game, so that means that he's just a little jarring, but nothing painful at all.
A little bit low, 2 balls, no strikes. Royals got a glimpse of Blake Hawksworth last year. He was pitching out of the bullpen in the Royals-Cardinals series in June, and they saw him for just 1 inning, 1 perfect inning. This is just his 2nd start of the season and just his 2nd major league start. 2 balls, 1 strike.
He turned in a really good second half for the Redbirds a year ago. Coming out of their bullpen, as you mentioned, in spring training, he was one of 4 different people that they were looking as a possible number 5 guy. Lost out in that bid, but working out of their bullpen, now back in the rotation because of a couple of injuries.
Born in North Vancouver, British Columbia, but he grew up in Washington State. In fact, he was a high school teammate of former Royal Andrew Sisko. Pulled to Pujols. He goes to the inside. They get the out at second base and turn a double play. 3-6-3, and the Royals send just 3 to the plate. getting this series off to a good start, winning last night 4-2. They had only one win in 6 tries against the Cardinals last year. And both pitchers facing the minimum in the first inning. Cardinals getting out of the bottom of the first, turning a double play. Kyle Davies faced 3, retired 3, and he'll get Matt Holliday, Colby Rasmus, and David Freese in the second inning. Strike 2, Matt Holliday 0 for 4 last night as the number 2 hitter. And when the Cardinals shelled out all that money to him during the offseason, they were thinking more about where he's hitting today, batting 4th, and protection for Albert Pujols. But it was the move to the number 2 position over the past 10 days that got his bat going.
Well, Ryan, what you want to do there is just put a guy like Matt Holliday in a position where he can get some fastballs. And behind Albert, he's going to get pitched pretty much the same as you would pitch Albert if Albert's ahead of him. So by him being in front of Albert, it's a come between a manager. If Holliday beats you, you can sleep. If Pujols beats you, that's a problem.
Great diving play in left field by Pasednik. And Kyle Davies applauding on the mound. And that was almost a frustrating hit against him. He made a pretty good pitch.
It was a good pitch, Ryan, and he went down and reached and really just rolled over and hit a line drive into left field. And Scotty did a good job. He ran out of step, and then he had to readjust himself, and that's what created the dive.
Frank, it looked like he was in trouble. He made that little adjustment. I wonder if that was because the wind is blowing that way. I was afraid that ball was going to take off, even though Holliday had to reach for it.
That just showed you his strength and how hard he hit that ball, and didn't really stay back and hit it, but the ball jumped off his bat.
One strike now on Colby Rasmus, who had a 2-hit game last night, and he's down in the count, no balls, 2 strikes. I was talking to Brian Pena before the game today, and the Royals have been working hard to figure out what to do to get Kyle Davies back on track. And Brian said the approach today is attack. Just get ahead, throw strikes, jump ahead. Let's not worry about the corners. Just come right at the Cardinals, and so far that's worked out. And he's thrown 5 of 6 pitches for strikes in this inning.
Ryan, it was interesting when I talked to him. He really felt that Kyle had good command on balls away from hitters. And so he thought he wanted to go ahead and start that way. He thought when he got in trouble was when he tried to pitch inside either lefty or righty. The thought if they could stay away and stay down early, they could get ahead. So far today, they've done that. Brian was saying, hey, be aggressive, attack, I'll bring the energy. We'll be okay. Interesting point.
Kyle racing over to first base on the 4-1 scoring play. And now David Freese. And that's grounded to Betancourt. So Kyle attacks. The Cardinals put the ball in play, and they are 6 up and 6 down. reminder to look for the Miller Lite Taste Greatness moment later in today's game. Royals got a 1-out single in the first inning, but Blake Hawksworth was able to get David DeJesus to ground into a double play. Billy last night 1 for 4 with his 24th double, and now he's tied for the league lead with Dustin Pedroia. Billy last year had 51 doubles, so he is on pace to hit 50 or more again.
Royals in last night's ball game really had a couple different opportunities to score a run. Did score in both those innings. Had a 3-run inning early on, added a run later on. But you look at the rest of the night, very quiet offensively.
Well, Billy was the guy in the middle who got that big hit, and that just gave you an idea of just Supine. He gave up 3 runs, but he really didn't let the game get away, and the Royals just really had some key hits, and that's what you want to see in baseball. You want to see good pitching, timely hitting, but the Royals also played good defense last night.
There's the changeup, and it's 2-2. Billy golfs it behind second base, and it's Schumacher with the call and the catch. Remember, now you can watch player locker room interviews anytime you want. Go to FoxSportsKansasCity.com and click on the video link for 24-hour access to Royals info and video. So 1 away, and now Jose Guillen, who extended his hitting streak to 19 games last night. He had 2 hits. His first one was an important one, a 2-out RBI single, capping the Royals' 3-run third. One and one. Jose happy with the hit streak, I'm sure, but is quick to point out that most of his hits during the streak have been singles. There's a nice play by Freese over at third base, and Pujols stepping into foul ground, keeping his foot on the bag, and there are 2 down.
Third base has been kind of a revolving door for the Cardinals over the last few years, but they're hoping with Freese that he'll nail that down. Big acquisition from San Diego a couple years ago, and so far he's looked pretty good.
If I didn't know any better, and maybe I was watching the game from high in the upper deck, I might have thought that was Scott Rowland making that play at third base.
Well, they used 7 different guys over at that position a year ago. Started with Troy Glaus and Mark DeRosa, but 7 at one position in 1 year tells you there's not a lot of stability.
Grew up in St. Louis, big Cardinal fan, big Ozzie Smith fan. As Callaspo lifts it into shallow left center field, Rasmus is there, and it's an easy second inning for Blake Hawksworth. the Minnesota Twins? Or how about a couple of teams from the East, the Red Sox or the Yankees? Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals, a space, and then A, B, C, or D. Standard text rates apply. Let me ask a couple of former Royals who they like to see this team beat the most.
Who are you playing today?
I knew that was coming.
The Yankees are tough to beat, though. I mean, day in and day out.
I think that's why you like to beat them, because they are tough to beat. And you always sort of measure yourself, not only as a team, but as a player when you go up against the Yankees, because you know you're playing the best that the league has to offer, whether it be facing the best pitchers or playing defense against some of the best players. And so you can play well in that environment up there, then that tells you can play anywhere.
But if you live in this state, St. Louis might be right there.
I just wish you played them more. You know, if we came down that one game, you know, when the Chiefs and the Rams play, just that one game for the Governor's Cup, then that'd be pretty exciting too.
Kyle Davies has retired the first 7. That's his first strikeout, getting Yadier Molina.
Now started working the breaking ball into the mix. They've gone fastball both ways along with the changeup, but mix the breaking ball in, come back with the fastball, and then try to expand the zone. You can do that if you get ahead.
So he is going according to plan, just attacking the Cardinals, and it is working. Aaron Miles takes a strike. He appeared late last night, and he's the DH today. So Ryan Ludwig and his 11 home runs, 42 RBIs are on the bench. 1 ball, 1 strike. I would think, even though in the big picture that National League, they like their own rules with the pitcher hitting number 9 position, that from time to time have the DH, the pitcher doesn't have to hit, especially a day like today. I mean, it might be a bad thing if the pitcher is spending more time on the field running the bases.
Well, that's the only time I think pitchers really get a chance to feel what it means to be a ball player. When they can get out there and swing the bat and run the bases and still have to go out there and throw.
I absolutely agree with that. You're almost out of touch with the game as soon as they put that designated hitter rule in. And the thing I miss about it, I remember growing up, you'd see a guy, you know, in batting practice, some say, he's the pinch hitter. He's the guy they bring off the bench and with the ball game on the line late. And in the American League, that role is altogether gone. You're the frontline guy or you're not.
I agree with that. I mean, it's like a field goal guy in football. I mean, does he feel like part of the team? Or you see those kickoff guys and the guy breaks through and they got to make that last tackle. Do they feel like a tackler or do they look like a kicker? So I just like it when everybody's involved in the game. I think a lot of pitchers like to help themselves too.
And the National League usually plays quicker games. There are fewer walks in the National League. It's more of a fastball league, and there are many reasons for that, but you can't diminish the pitcher's hitting and being reminded every 5 days how hard it is to hit. As opposed to the American League, the pitchers don't hit, and if all they do is to keep up with the rest of the league by way of the highlights, well, all they're seeing is home runs and doubles, and they're thinking, man, this hitting maybe is more easy than it looks, and perhaps give the hitters too much credit. That's lined into left center. Meyer will run it down deep. Miles to second base, and he has a 1-out double. So the Cardinals have their first base runner, and it comes with 1 out in the 3rd inning.
And one thing the DH does, it allows you to load up in that number 9 spot in the batting order. So many times it's a young player with speed who will in the next year or two be a leadoff hitter, but you put a leadoff type down there, all of a sudden now number 9 becomes a very good offensive position. And that's what Tony La Russa likes to bat as pitcher 8th, have a speed guy number 9, so you get the top of the order. He can still bat Pujols 3rd, so he bats in the 1st inning. Plus he's the cleanup guy the rest of the day.
Well, that's true, too. But I think a lot of times having that pitcher in there gives you a better fundamental player when it comes to bunting runners over. And we saw in Atlanta with Derek Lowe, he had to help himself. He bunted a run in and also got a base hit. So if the pitcher is athletic enough, he can really do some things to help himself win a ball game.
Nobody helped themselves more than Brian Bannister the other day when he fouled off that ball up and in.
Saving his own life along the way. 1 ball, 1 strike on Brendan Ryan.
And then he still got the bunt down.
Yes, he did.
And you wonder, too, and I don't think it's going to happen, but if the DH went away in the American League, would it go away in the minor leagues? Would it go away in college? Would it go away in high school? And maybe hitters then would get to the big leagues with more hitting skills because there isn't a point in their career where they just completely stop hitting altogether.
And I think one missing ingredient there, Ryan, is they'll get hit with better defensive skills, too. Because when a guy gets labeled a DH, I think they go away from trying to be a better defensive player and a better base runner. They just want to think mainly about hitting. And I think if they knew they had to try to, if there are less positions available for position players, then guys will work harder on their defense.
You know, I agree with that, but the other good reason to have it at the amateur level, he gets another kid involved in the game.
So Jesus getting behind the fly ball. Miles will tag, and David will flip it back to the infield. So the Cardinals have a runner at third base with 2 down. %48 so far. Enjoy the Royals beating the Yankees. Not much interest in beating the Red Sox. So the Yankees, then the Cardinals, then the Twins. Keep voting at 432 432. Keyword is Royals. A space. A for the Cardinals, B for the Twins, C for the Red Sox, and D for the Yankees. Skip Schumacher digs in with Miles at third base. At least against the Royals, Schumacher doesn't appear to be one of those leadoff hitters that's going to go up there and try to intentionally work the count. If he likes something early in the count, he's going to go after it. Grounded out in the first inning on the second pitch thrown by Davies. Last night, he swung at the very first pitch from Zach Greinke and singled to center field. No balls, 2 strikes on Schumacher.
When you think Schumacher, I don't know that you necessarily think first ball hitter, but you do think a line drive batter. He uses the entire field, doesn't provide a lot of power.
Well, that's true, and I think that's one of the reasons Tony looked at him as an outfielder. He doesn't probably profile out from a power standpoint. They said, okay, let's move him to the infield and see what we can do there.
Kind of a quick transition to the infield. Good second half for him last year defensively, but he was an infielder in college.
Ball got away from Aviles for a moment, but he grabs it with his bare hand and throws out Schumacher. No score to the middle of the third. For the visually impaired, and under her leadership, CCVI has grown from serving 36 young blind and visually impaired children back in 1980 to more than 350 last year. And today, Mary Lynn enjoys the game from the Buck O'Neill Legacy seat. And if she likes pitching and low-scoring games, she's enjoying this one so far, with both teams with just one hit apiece. Brian Pena, Mitch Meyer, and Unievsky Betancourt coming up. Chasing a pitch down, Schumacher comes up and throws him out. Tomorrow, the first 20,000 fans will receive a salute to 1985 Royals World Series poster presented by James Printing when the Royals take on the Cardinals at 1:10. And select posters will be signed by Frank White. So get here early. You can order your tickets right now at Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS.
Frank already has his. How do you pull that off?
That's getting here really early.
There you go.
1-1 to Mitch Meyer. Hitless last night. He did drive in a run. And now Mitch 0 for his last 8. One ball, 2 strikes. Mitch and Brian Pena, who just grounded out, were the only Royals that saw Blake Hawksworth last year, and they both just had 1 at bat. A little bit inside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hawksworth, one of those guys that's really easy to pull for because nothing was handed to him getting to the big leagues. A former 28th round draft pick of the Cardinals, and then he spent parts of 8 years in the minor leagues before making his debut last year. And he's got the Royals going for anything down around the ground. Pujols goes to the hole, gets it to Hawksworth, and Meyer is out number 2.
Sinking fastball has been the big offering for him so far here this afternoon. That's the ball that all the guys seem to be reaching for, and appears to be out of the strike zone. He's getting some ground balls with it right now. But normally when you haven't seen a guy, you think, oh yeah, he's a young guy, but 27 years old, been a professional since '01, so he has been around a while. Cardinals just feel he's more valuable as a relief pitcher last year and early on this year, but now with a couple guys DL'd, they don't know when they're going to get him back. He could be a swing guy out of the bullpen. See what they do.
And the Cardinals had a nice stretch for them where they had a lot of off days. They only needed 4 starters. And the last time Hawksworth made a start was back on June the 7th. But now with the off days disappearing and they need 5, he's back in there. Pitching coach Dave Duncan, also in his 15th year with the Cardinals, coming over with Tony La Russa from the Oakland A's. Two balls, 2 strikes to Betancourt. 0 for 4 last night, but made a great defensive play in the top of the 9th inning. So that kind of washed out a hitless night at the plate, fielding a ground ball that was first deflected by Joakim Soria as the Cardinals were trying to rally in the 9th.
An outstanding play too, Ryan. I mean, going up the middle, then have to go back to your right and barehand the ball and throw it across the diamond to get a pretty fast runner. I mean, that was a game-saving play, game-turning play.
You know, he wasn't involved in either one of the double plays last night, but it seemed like every time they hit the ball to him, it was really an important part of the ball game.
Up the line and a long run for Holiday, and he crosses the line, makes a foul ball catch, and now Hawksworth has retired the last 7. So Kyle's given up a 1-out double in the 3rd inning, and that's it. Nick Stabenoa takes ball 1. He flied to right in the 1st inning. So the Cardinals with 1 base runner, the Royals with 1 base runner. Squibbed off the end of the bat, and with all that spin, you wondered if that was going to be trouble. And that thing just spinning and whistling spilled out of Davies' glove.
It's one of those plays, Ryan, it's a little bit tough to control the ball. You'd like to be able to field it straight on so you keep the ball in front of you. End up overrunning it right here because you cannot corral it. No reason to keep on moving to first base. You got Billy over there to cover the bag. The most important thing, make the play on the ball. There you can see the sideways spin as he goes after it. It's still spinning sideways.
Well, you're right on there, Paul. He should just settle down, made the play, and let Billy cover first. He was like he was trying to do it all himself, and that's when you get yourself in trouble.
So he is hit with an error. Strike 1 to Albert Pujols, who popped out to second base in the 1st inning. So Pujols 0 for 4 so far in the series. And he has just beaten the Royals to a pulp at Kauffman Stadium over the years. Davies jumps ahead 0-2.
One thing I noticed about Albert last night and this afternoon, Ryan, is that he's not. Normally you see a more patient hitter. You know, he take a few more pitches, but he's gone after pitches early in the count. And he swung some pitches out of the strike zone last night, which is uncharacteristic of Albert Pujols.
36 runs driven in 28 games. Hit a grand slam against the Royals here last year. Hit it off the Royals Hall of Fame.
I think he had 5 grand slams last year, so not all against Kansas City, but had a big year in that department. The thing I noticed about the last couple of years, and he was lighting everybody up that wore a royal blue uniform, but everything was up in the strike zone. You guys ran it last night. We did on pregame. Everything that he launched, it seemed was belt high, inner part of the plate, or outer part of the plate.
Fox Tracks brought to you by Taco Bell. Had him reaching, didn't get much on that swing at all. Aviles fighting the sun, trying to get the angle, and plays it off to his left side. So 2 pop-ups to Aviles for Albert Pujols.
Well, this is a real nice cutter on the outside part of the plate. You can see how far out front he is. It's 91 miles an hour, and you get a guy out front on a 91 mile an hour cutter. Now that's some good location and some late break on the
He is a guy that is tough to break down at the plate when you take his legs out from underneath him. His stance is so widespread, and he stays on top of his base, but got him to reach for that last one.
Matt Holliday hits it hard to left field again. He lost a hit on a diving play by Posednik in the 2nd inning. Stabenoa will stop at second base. So the Cardinals have runners at 1st and 2nd, 1 out.
Now this pitch actually got in on him, and he did a good job of getting around it. I'm surprised he was able to keep this ball fair the way he hit around this ball, but he kept it down the line and got through it pretty good.
So that's the first hit of the series from Albert Pujols, Ryan Ludwig, and Matt Holliday combined. And now Colby Rasmus. So Rasmus bats 5th with Ryan Ludwig out. Grounded out in the 2nd inning. 2 hits and a run scored last night. And that stroked to deep right field into the crosswind, but he got enough of it, and the Cardinals take a 3-0 lead.
Rasmus is an important guy to the Cardinals because of the position he plays in center field, but also the power potential, but also because he's a left-handed bat. They're kind of right-handed hitting as a team, so important for them to develop somebody from that side of the plate. They think he can be a 20 home run guy, a 20 steal guy for some time. And his name, I think, over the next couple of years is going to be mentioned right there with Pujols, Holiday, and Ludwig. Rasmus, I think, is the next one coming on.
Well, he just had a fastball down and in. Just one of those pitches that automatic for most left-handed hitters. But when he hit balls like that in this big ballpark, then you see the power potential there. It's in Kobe Rasmus. So I agree with your assessment of him. But I think I got to see a little bit more before I can mention him with Pujols. So.
No. But, I mean, I think he's the guy to be coverage for all three of those guys in the middle lineup.
Hold to Betancourt. Freese is the second out. And that's the second time he has grounded out to short. Baseball's biggest stars go head-to-head for one spectacular night. The summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the All-Star Game from Anaheim. Coverage begins on Tuesday, July the 13th at 7 p.m. only on Fox. Yadier Molina with 2 outs.
Paul, we see teams that have strong middles, and you're not going to have a good team if you don't have a strong middle. That's just the way it is. And you look at the Cardinal Ball Club, and you look at Holiday, and you look at Ludwig and Pujols, and you develop Rasmus. Now you're 4 deep. Now normally you only see 3 deep, but if you can go 4 deep and all guys have power, then it just makes your team that much more effective offensively.
Well, the other thing they've got is they got the power on the corners. In right field, left field, first base. They're still working on third base a little bit. And then athletes up the middle. But if you can combine the athlete in the middle plus a little pop, now you got something.
That's going to give you your speed, too.
Literally throwing his bat at the ball.
And Molina's really been kind of struggling lately, Ryan. 1 for 9 coming in on this road trip. And you can see chasing balls out of the strike zone like that to give you the idea he's not picking the ball up very well, especially the balls that are down and away from him.
I mean, that's an okay swing if you're protecting with 2 strikes, but that was with less than 2 strikes. And he did not offer it that pitch. Sorry to bug you today, Dana. What was that? It's a good thing everyone in the ballpark, including those out in the left field corner and in the upper deck, knew that that was no swing. That's a swing. And one big swing from the Cardinals gives them a 3-0 lead. Items at Panera Bread. And by Chevrolet. Come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. Kobe Rasmus with a 3-run home run in the top of the 4th inning. So the Cardinals lead for the first time in the series. And Blake Hawksworth, making just his 2nd major league start, has faced the minimum in the first 3 innings, giving up only 1 hit. Scott Posednik popped out to 2nd in the bottom of the 1st inning, almost took one on the knee, and the count is 2-0. We discussed it early on. The Royals saw Hawksworth for just 1 inning all of last year. So this is the 2nd time through. Now the entire lineup has faced him, getting an idea of how the ball's coming out of his hand. Makes a good pitch there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And he means business today. He's getting the pitch back from the catcher. He's not moving from the rubber. He's ready to go back to work.
Well, you can also see where he's pretty deceptive with his delivery. Kind of jumps out at the hitter. Kind of a funky delivery. A little bit tough to pick up the ball.
Sednick is 0 for 2. Coming up on Wednesday, June the 30th, it's another Ink College night. And not only will all high school and college students get select tickets for just $7, but it's also 80s Retro Night. So wear your best 80s gear, because there will be costume contests, trivia contests, and a chance to win some great prizes. Mike Aviles is the only Royal to reach so far, with a 1-out single in the 1st inning, but then he was erased when David DeJesus grounded into a double play. Kind of a wild swing there. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yadier Molina doing a great job behind the plate, moving this young guy around one side of the plate to the other. That time set off just off the plate, but the backup action on that fastball got the corner.
3 pitches, and Avila strikes out, and Hawksworth gets his first. Take a look at today's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. David DeJesus among the best of active players in interleague play. And how about that lineup? Albert Pujols, Ichiro Suzuki, Maglio Ordonez, Derek Jeter, and then David DeJesus.
So do we think tomorrow is going to be their last good day to hit? All those guys are done hitting after tomorrow?
They're done. Yeah, those guys do nothing inside their own league. David so far against the Cardinals is 0 for 5. Grounded into a 3-6-3 double play in the 1st inning. David batting at .319. Left that out over the plate. That was a mistake pitch, but David fouled it away.
And one of the things I think I've noticed this year, and without sitting down and actually working it out, it seems like the teams in our division have a completely different schedule against the National League. I've looked at the Minnesota Twins. They're completely different ball clubs than what we've seen. I think we're seeing it with the Chicago White Sox a little bit. Completely different setup, even though they're in our division. It didn't used to be that way.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's one of the complaints about the current setup, is that one team might have an easier interleague schedule. The other has a more difficult one. A slow roller up the third base side. Freese makes a nice effort, but DeJesus beats it out for an infield single. David DeJesus has his 90th hit of the year.
The Hawksworth make a really nice pitch. Freese comes in, but David has a good jump out of the box, but he made a good pitch down. David got it right on the end of the bat, and it was almost like a nice bunt out there at the third base.
And with 2 outs in the inning, aren't those corner infielders playing a little bit deeper anyhow?
Well, I've kind of complained about that to Ryan this year about how deep they go with 2 strikes. I can see against big guys like Pujols and Holiday, but when you got guys in the middle, then you should just play regular depth, and then that pitch is more of a routine ground ball.
To Freese again. Butler is out, and the Royals are finished in the 4th. Continues to do this, there will be more down the road.
I thought this might be a big day for the hitters with a fill-in started going for them, and Cal hadn't won in almost a month, but it's been anything but that.
Well, I think what he's done, really, he's just really done a good job keeping the ball down, Paul, and really that good changeup, and that's been keeping the Royals hitters out front. So he's just sort of neutralizing the power in the swing.
Miles squibs one up the middle and into center field. So batting 8th as the DH, Aaron Miles has 2 hits.
Here's a nice scrappy hitter, nice short swing and ball right up the middle. For some reason, Mike took one step to his left. They probably didn't pick the ball up that well off the bat, and that probably wouldn't have cost him the play, but probably give an opportunity to at least stop the ball.
That was a breaking ball, so right there. So is he anticipating it being pulled in the hole?
Well, he probably was. Once you see a guy take a step one way, he's probably anticipating that. Sometimes if you playing against teams with white uniforms, sometimes you can lose the ball in the uniform and force you to take a step. But that one step costs you once you give it away. It's hard to make it back up.
Brendan Ryan flied out in the 3rd inning. He is 0 for his last 12 and is hitting just .207, so he might bunt, and he does. Gets down a pretty good one. Brian Pena tells Kyle Davies to throw to first, and Miles moves up to second base. We don't see a whole lot of the National League, obviously, aside from the 2 or 3 weeks of interleague play. We do see the Cardinals at least once a year, most of the time twice a year. Do you think it'd be safe to say that the Cardinals would be the Minnesota Twins of the National League as far as fundamentals go?
Maybe more from the offensive side. Tony just has a good mix of players, that he kind of plays both sides of the game. In the middle, he can go to power game. Then he gets on the tail end and the front. He can do some of the things like this. But from Tony's standpoint, he likes good fundamental players.
I think I'd give the Cardinals the edge on frontline pitching year in year out. They always seem to have guys competing for the Cy Young Award, but maybe a little stronger on the pitching and defense side. But yeah, fundamentals. If you know how to play the game, you're going to be there most years.
And now Schumacher rips it to right, and the Cardinals have their second home run. only the second home run for Skip Schumacher, but with that swing and that distance, that didn't look like a guy who only has 2 home runs this year.
When Kyle Davis gets himself in trouble, Ryan, is because he leaves the pitch up. And there he leaves the changeup up out over the plate. And Schumacher just sit there and waited on it. And that's just right down the middle. And he really cranked it. And this weather gets hot like this, the ball really flies out of Kauffman Stadium.
But that does not look like a spray hitter or a leadoff man.
No. When you get your pitch, your middle in, and you get extended like that, then you're gonna be able to produce a lot more bat speed.
And that was the first pitch. So again, he's hacking early in the count. Another comparison I was thinking about with the Cardinals and the Twins is for the last several years they've had 2 or 3 really good hitters in the middle of the order, and then pretty average players around them who know their roles, just trying to get on base and have everything set up for that big 3.
I remind you, Mauer and Marneau.
Well, and Kadire backing them up. I think all of a sudden now he's kind of elevated his game to where he's making a pile of money, and he's right there with the other 2.
Well, and Jason Kubel also. I mean, he hasn't hit average-wise this year, but he gets some big clutch hits from that right behind Kadire. So that's 4. And then you look at the Cardinals, and they've got 4. And I think if you can get 4, that's awesome. I mean, normally you're only working with 3.
I wonder what Kubel would have been if he hadn't blown out his knee several years ago. I think that cost him about 1.5 years and some power along the way.
You Call It, presented by Sprint. We asked you, who do you like to see the Royals beat the most? And the Yankees at 45%. The Cardinals have gone up. I don't know if that has anything to do with the 5 runs over the last 2 innings. Followed by the Twins and the Red Sox getting just 5%. So Albert Pujols with Stabenoa at first base.
I would say the folks in Johnson County are voting Yankees. The people in Jackson County are voting St. Louis.
That's a good call.
The folks in Cass County are out fishing.
That'd be you, isn't it?
That's me, yeah. Five to nothing St. Louis, and Albert Pujols has nothing to do with it. He has popped to second base twice, and 1 hop to Betancourt, and the Royals will turn to double play. The second one that Pujols has hit in the series, but the Cardinals get another home run. Drafted in the first round by the Royals to play that position in the major leagues, with Christian Colon officially signing yesterday. Jose Guillen takes a strike from Blake Hawksworth. Frank immediately wrote one down.
There you go. Royals' first draft choice in 1968 was a shortstop, but he never got close to the big leagues. Jamie Quirk was a shortstop, first round pick.
Never played?
I don't think.
A stumper. Big bouncer to Brendan Ryan. Guillen is 0 for 2 with 2 ground balls to the left side today. And the Royals with just 2 hits so far against Blake Hawksworth. So 1 away, and now Alberto Callaspo flied to center field in the second inning. 3 hits last night to give him a 7-game hitting streak. And there's that excellent changeup. Alberto down, no balls, 2 strikes. I think you'd like to play behind a guy like Hawksworth any day, but especially a day like today with all the heat. I mean, the furthest he goes from the pitching rubber is about 7 inches in between pitches.
Well, I guess conserve energy that way too, rather than walking around the mound after every pitch, and the defense really appreciates it. I know on turf we had a pitcher like that. I won't call any names, but he's not here next to me. But after every pitch, he just bounced the ball around the mound, and then finally John Mayberry yelled at him. He said, "You don't get on the mound and pitch. I'm going to come in there and do something about it."
Line to center, and Rasmus runs it down. 2 outs in the 5th inning.
I always thought it was the pitcher's responsibility to hurry up and get his guys off the field. There wasn't a guy I ever played with who wanted to stand on the field more than he wanted to stand in the batter's box.
That's true.
I haven't met him yet.
I know there were some pitchers you say, let's hurry and get this guy to 5 innings so we can get him out of here. You know, you go out, you get 2 runs, and then they come back get 1. You go out, get 2, they come back get 3. It's just like tug of war back and forth, and you just hope you can get him qualified and hope we get the bullpen in and get us through the game.
You know, in the last half inning, we were talking about similarly maybe St. Louis and Minnesota. Well, who was the last pitcher you saw with St. Louis who was not a fast worker and worked at the knees? If you don't do that, you're probably not going to be there long.
Royals go down quietly in the 5th inning against Hawksworth, who has given up only 2 hits. Top of the fourth inning with 1 out and 2 on. Colby Rasmus with a 3-run home run, his 15th of the year. And then in the 5th inning, with 1 on, 1 out, Skip Schumacher with just his 2nd home run. So Kyle Davies has only walked 1. That's a positive for him today, but he's given up 2 long balls. And the Royals have a ways to go, down 5-0 going into the 6th inning. Matt Holliday, 1 pitch, 1 out. He is 1 for 3. Coming up on Tuesday during the White Sox series, the first 20,000 fans will receive a 1973 Retro All-Star t-shirt presented by Commerce Bank. That is the 4th of 7 t-shirt Tuesdays throughout the year, and you can order your tickets right now at Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. 1973, this ballpark was called Royals Stadium. It was the first year of beautiful Royals Stadium. And Kansas City was host to the All-Star game. One and one on Colby Rasmus. It was Rasmus' play last year that made Rick Ankiel expendable. After playing a few years in their outfield, Rasmus with a very good first full season in the major leagues. It was their first round pick back in 2005 and immediately labeled a 5-tool player, which means he can play defense, he can throw, he can run, he can hit for average, and he certainly can hit for power. We saw that in the 4th inning.
Ryan, they absolutely blew away their division last year. They won it by 7.5 games with 91 wins on the year, but they got swept by the Dodgers in the postseason. They just went ice cold with the bats. He was about the only guy that swung the bat well. He hit about 440 in that division series, so they knew they had something at the end of last year.
And he pulls it through the hole past the diving Mike Aviles. Rasmus has his 2nd hit today and his 4th in the first 2 games.
He shows a lot of quickness inside, Ryan. You see how fast his bat gets through the zone. I mean, he just really shows a lot of strength, being able to pull that ball back through the hole. He's sitting on 15 home runs, so he definitely got power. And Mike Aviles makes an effort, but I don't know probably what, when you dive, you got to always make sure you got a chance to make a play. And I doubt if he'd have a chance to make a play even if he catches that one.
Ryan, Frank, you look at that swing. It looks to me like he's trying to pull. Looks like he has an uppercut swing, so quit trying to pitch him down. Got to stay up on the hands, and you got to try to get away.
That's one thing you hear a lot of people talk about, pitching down. But some guys you don't want to pitch down. Some guys you want to pitch up. So it's all about knowing where that guy's strengths and weaknesses are.
David Freese lines it to left field. Pasetnik is there. So Rasmus turns and sprints back to first base. And David Freese is 0 for 3. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre with Frank White, Paul Splittorff, and Joel Goldberg with producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is T.J. McGinnis. And along with that, a full crew of brave men today out in the sun and the heat.
We were talking earlier in the ballgame how Tony La Russa likes to move his people around, different guys in the lineup. He has used 13 different players as a number 7 hitter. This spot in the batting order. I mean, they only have 12 guys on their team with a 13-man pitching staff he likes to go with. We're now halfway through the year, and he's had 13 different number 7 hitters.
Well, he's a numbers guy a lot of times, though. He just does that. I mean, I don't know why. He just moves his lineup around. Sometimes you'll get it, and he'll change it. And I think he pays a lot to the numbers of who's doing what against who.
And he plays at the 8 and 9 spot. Sometimes he'll hit the pitcher 8, sometimes he'll bat the 9th. But you think, okay, if you're going to flip-flop there a whole lot, 7 might be pretty stable.
Well, you might be stable, but I think they pitch a 7th guy like they would an 8th guy in front of the pitcher. You always want to bring that pitcher to the plate if you can.
Into the corner, DeJesus across the line and makes the catch. And that's it for the Cardinals in the 6th inning. They lead 5-0. Over half the trail follows the Missouri River. Royals trying to figure out Blake Hawksworth, who had a .348 opponent's batting average before the game started. And that's 47 hits in 32 innings.
And how about 54 pitches through 5 innings here today?
And only 2 hits. Mitch Meyer grounded out to Albert Pujols his first time. Ahead in the count, 2 balls, 1 strike. Back in the first inning with 1 out, Mike Avila's single, but then a double play. And with 2 outs in the 4th, David DeJesus singled, and that's it. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Meyer. Full count. And that might be, as I check my pitch count very quickly, that might be just the second 3-ball count he's had all day. And the first walk. So Meyer is on. Yuniesky Betancourt coming up. Let's go out to the Royals Hall of Fame and find Joel Goldberg. All right, thank you, Joel. Sellout crowd last night of almost 39,000 and about the same today. Royals down 5-0 in the 6th inning. Meyer at first, and Betancourt fouls it off the wire of the screen and back into the seats. Uni fouled out to left fielder Matt Holliday in the 3rd inning. 0 for 1 today, 0 for 5 in the series, and now 0 for his last 9. No balls, 2 strikes. Mitch Meyer runs well, but running situations have not come his way very often this year. And this late in the season, and with as much playing time as he has received, it's a little strange seeing that he is just 0 for 1 in stolen base attempts.
Yeah, a lot of times he has run, it's been at front end of a hit and run, and the ball's been fouled off and hasn't had that attempt completed. But I talked to him today, and he says it feels good to be back in the American League and playing again.
Chopped to short, out at second, nope, dropped. So not even the courtesy out on the dropped it in transition. That was just a drop, 2 on, nobody out.
Well, I mean, just get right here. Then. Now, Schumacher being an outfielder, they're so used to doing things with one hand, and he's got a little bit longer glove than you would normally use at second base, but you see how he just, this separation between the glove and the hand and that head turn, all that'll cause what you just saw right there.
Tony La Russa out to talk with second base umpire Kerwin Danley about that call and wondering if, in fact, the ball was in the glove and out in transition. It was not.
It was not here. But, I mean, he wanted to back off the base, which is really kind of bad. And he was lucky he didn't get hurt right there, too, because Mitch went in real hard. But when you're playing second base for the first time, you got to make sure you keep those two hands together and not separate.
That ball got closer to going in his right hand than his left hand. In the glove hand, you see that? The right hand was down below. I think it went off his thumb.
Well, they just put the ball wasn't where the glove was supposed to go. But it's hard to play that position one-handed. And it looks like he might be using his outfield glove at second base.
So this is the first time the Royals have had more than one base runner in an inning. And Scott Posednik bats with Meyer at second, Betancourt at first. 2 gift runners thanks to a walk and an error. Posednik has popped to second and hit a soft liner to second. Hawksworth has been very efficient today with just 66 pitches, but he is not in the starting rotation for the Cardinals. So his pitch count is much different than the regulars, and he might be done.
I think all of that was orchestrated right there to give some time for a relief pitcher. Tony La Russa has done that throughout his career. I think when men got on first and second, maybe he had already thrown his last. Among the top guys in the National League as far as stranding inherited runners. See the opponents batting just 183 against them. Primarily a two-pitch guy, fastball, slider, and has good command of the strike zone. Not a big strikeout guy, but he didn't get many free passes either.
And he inherits two. Meyer at second, Betancourt at first, nobody out. In for a strike to Scott Posednik. Posednik 0 for 2 today and 0 for 2 in the past against Miller. Miller, like a lot of situational lefties, advertises himself as have left arm, will travel. And he has. When he joined the Cardinals last year, that was his 9th major league team. He has been with the Astros 2 different times, and he's been with the Rays 2 different times. 1-2 on Posednik. "19 years ago, Trevor Miller was a first-round pick of the Detroit Tigers. 7 years after that, made the transition to the bullpen. And because of that move, he's been around for a long time.
Killing the lefties again this year. They're hitting a $129 against him.
They've got that lower arm slot, that lower three-quarter arm slot, and he hides the ball real well.
From that side arm slot, the breaking ball will always be a wide sweeping thing, so tough to stay with it if you're a lefty.
Off of Posednik's ankle, and he goes down to a knee.
So many times, Frank, if you have a guy like that, when you warm him up and put him in the ball game, you almost always have to warm up a right-hander along with him, because if you're effective because of something you're doing against the lefties, many times that makes you ineffective against the righties. So you get too good a look.
That's true, and I think you see that a lot, Paul. Guys are good against lefties, but bad against righties. And you know, they got someone up on the hill, but hadn't quite started throwing yet. So that kind of goes in line with your thinking. And I think right now they're really interested in what he does with Scott Posednik right here.
So if you're a left-hand batter, that ball is coming in by way of the second baseman. I mean, it's coming in from behind you. But if you're a right-hand batter, man, that's a nice clear view.
It's like a picture window and a bathroom window at the same time.
You know, as a left-handed hitter, you feel that that ball has a better chance of hitting you in the numbers on your back than it does getting to the outside corner.
That's that big sweeping action you're talking about. It actually starts behind.
Lifted to center. Rasmus was shallow. It carries. And that is out number 1. Meyer hustles back to second. And Betancourt hustles back to first.
Well, you'd really like to see Mitch tag up on that ball and go to third base, Ryan. There's no reason for him not to be able in a tag-up position. Well, this ball here is hit deep, and Rasmus has to go back, but as he gains on the ball, Mitch has got to be gaining on second base, and therefore if he catches the ball, now he can tag and go to third, because if he goes over his head, he's going to be able to score anyway.
So he doesn't necessarily have to be on the bag, but just a lot closer so he can get back.
Yeah, what you do is you do go off when the ball is first hit, and you try to read the outfielder and look at the baseball. And as he gets closer to the ball, then when you're in a tag-up situation, you have to get closer to the bag. So when he does catch it, you're right there to step on the bag and go to the next base.
Well, Miller will stay in there against Mike Aviles with David DeJesus on deck. Aviles 1 out of 2 against Hawksworth with a first inning single. And the Royals with 2 hits in 5 1/3 innings. They have been given 2 base runners in this inning thanks to a walk and an error. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's another reason you really want to score in this inning if you're a Royals fan, because they did give you that opportunity. Sometimes it's tough to get something going if you can't get it going on your own and they open the door for you. You really need to try to make a move here to draw a little bit closer.
And that's lined into left field. So with 2 strikes on him, Aviles picks up his second hit. And they're loaded up for DeJesus. Take a look at the location on Fox Tracks, brought to you by Chevy.
This week, talk about that big window that right-handers get a good look at that pass, that any pitch that comes from that lower arm swing to my left-hander. And Mike sees this ball all the way and does a good job hitting this line drive to left field.
Well, I'm sure the only reason Miller was in the ballgame still is because the Jesus hits now, and they got another lefty-on-lefty matchup. I wonder if he'd have been in if Besednik's ball would have gotten over the head of the center fielder. If that's the base hit, all of a sudden now you got some problem. You can't worry about the Jesus. You better match up against the righty.
And he gets it through the right side. One run is home. Here comes Betancourt, and he will beat the throw, and it's a 5-2 game. So DeJesus comes through against Miller, and that's his second hit today.
I really like the swings of all three guys who've gotten against Miller since he got in the ballgame. Besednik hit the ball hard. Aviles hits it hard. Now DeJesus gets a couple RBIs on a solid base hit to right field. But right now, he hasn't fooled anybody yet.
I see the location. The location's up and in the middle of the plate. And if he's going to be successful against the left-hander, he's got to get the ball to the extension side, which is on the outside corner, and make these guys reach for the ball. But he left that ball right in the middle of the plate up, and David DeJesus made him pay for it.
So Billy Butler comes up, and Jason Mott comes out of the bullpen in the Chevy call to the pen. Two on the board. David DeJesus driving in Mitch Meyer and Unievsky Betancourt. And now the tying run is at the plate. Jason Mott is on the mound.
Converted catcher and a hard-throwing right-hander. Probably going to see about 98 miles an hour out of him. Look at opponents hitting just 194 against him. 3 home runs given up, but Royals have a man on in scoring position at third base. Another runner on at first.
He had a little trouble last night just keeping the ball out over the plate, the right-handed hitters. So he's got the good fastball. Everything was running in.
And Billy chops it to the left side. Out at second base, and a double play. And the 20th that Billy has hit into this year, but the Royals are back in the game with 2 runs. against Kyle Davies in the 4th, and then Skip Schumacher a 2-run home run in the 5th. Royals just got a couple of runs in the bottom of the 6th inning on a David DeJesus base hit. Tony La Russa holds out Ryan Ludwig and makes Aaron Miles the DH today, and Miles is 2 for 2 with a run scored. One ball, one strike. Well, the game plan for Kyle Davies today was to just come out and attack. Throw strikes, don't worry about picking at the corners, jump ahead of the hitters, and trying to reduce the walks along the way. Well, he's done that. He has only walked 1. He has only struck out 2, so the ball has been put in play quite a bit. But 2 balls have also cleared the right field fence. To Betancourt at short, backhands and throws out Miles.
Bob McClure has spent so much time with Kyle Davies trying to get him in the strike zone on a consistent basis, and they've even gone to the thumb position underneath the baseball on his fastball, trying to tuck it a little bit, different positions, down by the joint of the finger, up on the tip of the finger, trying to even develop some consistency that way. But they've been working on it now for the better part of 3 years.
And it's not that Kyle doesn't know the importance of locating pitches and changing speeds, but he, and I'm sure along with some of the other harder throwing Royals, learned something during the Washington Nationals series on Monday night when Livan Hernandez has thrown it up there at anywhere from 82 to 86 miles an hour with his fastball, but he's changing speeds, he's hitting his spots, and he's shut down the Royals.
He did a good job of it too, and whenever the Royals made an adjustment to the outside corner, he just moved it a little bit further out, and if they couldn't gauge where that pitch was on the plate, then he won the battle.
Brendan Ryan is out. So 2 down in the 7th inning. Bob McClure was talking after we were discussing the Livan Hernandez start about how difficult it is to get guys these days to pitch softer. A hitting count 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, and guys know they have to throw a fastball. If anything, they're going to try and throw it harder. But Bob McClure had a nice long career because he wasn't afraid in hitting counts to, instead of throwing it harder, throw a little bit softer just to interrupt and disrupt the timing.
Well, it's against your nature to try to throw slower and try to get under the good hitting speed. I mean, everybody wants to go over it because that's where you find the successful guys out there throwing hard and having an unhittable breaking ball. But there's also a knack if you're a little bit slower. And Bobby Mack, he got to that point in his career. I mean, Jamie Moyer is doing it now. There have been many others, Tommy John, Jim Cott, and a lot of them. Once you can do that, be effective at 83, 84, 85, man, you can go on for a long time. But it's tough to get over that hurdle.
Well, some of those guys, too, Paul, only got softer after they got hurt. A lot of those guys were power guys, and once they were hurt, they came back and learned how to pitch. You know, Tommy John, Frank Tanana, those situations kind of dictate that they do make a change.
Well, a chant of USA has broken out at Kauffman Stadium, and I think that has something to do with the World Cup. And I hear they have just tied the game with Ghana at 1. In the 62nd minute, Landon Donovan on a penalty kick, tying the game. Billy Butler gets a big hop. He goes to the bag, and Kyle Davies gets the Cardinals in order in the 7th. 4-game losing streak. Their lead was down to a half game. Houston and Texas just getting underway. Everything else is later this afternoon or tonight. Ball one from Jason Mott to Jose Guillen, and Mott kind of stumbling around the mound after that first pitch. So Molina, a little concerned, is going to walk the ball out there. Now he wants the Cardinal training staff to come out and take a look at his pitcher, even though Mott says he's fine. And while they talk it over, we'll remind you that before and after every game here on Fox Sports Kansas City, we hope you'll join us for Royals Live. Joel Goldberg brings you the latest Royals news and breaks down the game's action. For complete Royals pre- and post-game coverage, tune into Royals Live here on Fox Sports Kansas City from Rivals Sports Bar, which is a good place on a day like today. Temperature at 90 degrees at first pitch, but very high humidity. And Jason Mott is going to come out. So we will have a delay here as the next pitcher in will have all the warm-up tosses that he needs. To maybe roll his ankle on the first pitch to Jose Guillen. So McClellan becomes the 4th Cardinal pitcher today. Well, we have a moment. Let's look back at today's defensive play of the game, brought to you by the Home Depot, doing more on defense.
Well, this is Scott Pasetic right in the second inning against Matt Holliday. He does a great job of going across and then readjusting and diving and making a great play.
McClellan is another Cardinals product, and like Blake Hawksworth, kind of a low round pick. Hawksworth was a 28th round draft pick. McClellan was taken in the 25th round back in 2002. Signed out of high school, and if he didn't sign with the Cardinals, he was on his way to play for the Missouri Tigers.
He's been solid out of their bullpen this year. He picked up his 10th hold of the year on Tuesday night. Kind of interesting, the player that just left, Jason Mott, was his catcher in the minor leagues. McClellan was the pitcher, Mott was the catcher. Now they're together in the Cardinal bullpen.
Wonder if Mott can throw guys out.
Not now, he's up in the clubhouse.
Well, I think if you're a catcher turned pitcher, I don't think throwing guys out is the problem.
I was looking at that 98-mile-an-hour fastball. It's, oh, man, must be that curveball. Must be that slider.
As a hitter.
As a hitter.
So 1 ball, no strikes on Jose Guillen. Mott came on in the bottom of the 6th inning with runners at 1st and 3rd and 1 out, and got Billy Butler to ground into a double play. But then 1 pitch to Guillen, he is out, and Jose is grounded out to 3rd, grounded out to short. Mott did not want to come out. He was trying to wave Tony La Russa back to the dugout, but it was Yadier Molina, the Cardinal catcher, coming out and saying, nope, come and give him a look. Guillen coming very close to making it a 20-game hitting streak, but Schumacher rips him off, and there's 1 away in the 7th.
Maybe a little payback here for all the soft base hits he got. Now he hits one right on the button. Looked like he had it by the diving second base, but no way.
He did a great job. Skip Schumacher got a great jump on his line drive ball. You can see that long outthrow of his glove he's got right there. So he's gonna do a lot of stopping the balls with that glove.
A strike to Alberto Callaspo, who is fly to right, line to right. Up the left field line and foul. No balls and 2 strikes. So Hawksworth for 5, Miller for a 1/3 of an inning, Mott, who just left for the clubhouse, 2/3 of an inning, and now McClellan. One ball, 2 strikes. Last inning we were talking about how if you're a Cardinal pitcher, chances are very good that you're a fast worker. And one of the things that Dave Duncan tries to get pitchers to do, especially the guys who have been around for a while and just maybe haven't had the career to match their stuff, as Callaspo strikes out for the 2nd out, is to pitch more to contact. Cardinals usually a pitching staff that doesn't walk many.
And McClellan would be one of those guys. Now, he didn't throw as hard as Mott, who just left the ball again, but the breaking stuff is better, and that's what you got to caught looking on Callaspo with, was a curveball in the outside corner.
Brian Pena 0 for 2. Getting a rare start behind the plate today. Jason Kendall celebrating his 36th birthday, but I don't know if he's necessarily celebrating it. He'd rather be in the game. And Pena drives it into center field for a 2-out hit. Here's Jason, born on the exact same day as Derek Jeter.
You did see him before the ball game. He caught the ceremonial first pitch, was thrown out by George Brett today. Took some pictures afterwards. With a cut fastball right there to Brian Pena. Puts it into center field. He's 1 for 3 today.
Meyer with a foul tip into the glove. Mitch walked leading off the 6th inning, and then Betancourt reached on an error, and the Royals turned that into 2 runs on a David DeJesus base hit. Mitch is also grounded out to first. One ball, 1 strike. Final game of the series is tomorrow. Bruce Chen for the Royals and Jaime Garcia pitching for the Cardinals. He's had a great year at 7-3 and a very small ERA, 1.79. He is a rookie out of Mexico.
He was worried about making their ball club in camp, but started as the number 5 guy. Now, if you were to line him up, he'd probably be number 3.
Through the right side, Meyer has his first hit. Pena will stop at second base.
That's a good piece of hitting by Mitch here. He goes down and get a ball out of the strike zone and brings it back in that hole. Brian Pena only makes it to second base, but Mitch did a great job going down and digging that ball out.
So 2 on, 2 out, and Yuniesky Betancourt got a hanging breaking ball. Didn't pull the trigger. No balls, 1 strike. Uni reached on an error and scored in the 6th inning, and he is fouled out to left. now the slow breaking ball is in the dirt. He kind of set him up with that. He flipped one in there that was hittable, flipped another one, and put it in a spot where it was unhittable.
Well, that's true, Ryan. Once you make the hitter flinch a little bit on a curveball, then you come back with another breaking ball, it won't make him chase. But Uni just hasn't shown a lot of patience when they're men in scoring position. Only at 225 on the season. And I think that shows that he gets more anxious with men on base than he does when they're not on base.
The Royals 25 times this year have scored a run after the inning began with 2 outs and nobody on base. And with Guillen and Callaspo down, 2 on.
And a number of those coming here in this month of June. So it's not like, you know, you're out of this inning. They've had some nice frames. They put up a perfect number.
That's in the seats behind home plate. Payne at second base, Meyer at first. Still no balls, 2 strikes. We've seen Betancourt get hits and make contact on pitches that a lot of guys can't make contact on. He has very good hand-eye coordination, but sometimes that can become a curse because the hitter thinks he can get to anything.
Well, that's true, Ronnie. That's what I say. He just shows a lot more impatience when they're running in scoring position, and he just does a lot better with nobody on base.
You know, they talk about a bad ball hitter. It's hard to be a good bad ball hitter. I mean, it is a bad ball. You can't hit it. There aren't many guys who can handle it, and that's what got him in trouble in Seattle.
And he got him with a breaking ball in the dirt, so the Royals strand 2 in the 7th inning. Cardinals lead by 3. Are our Chevrolet plays of the game. Moby Rasmus with a 3-run home run off of Kyle Davies in the 4th inning, and then Skip Schumacher with a 2-run shot in the 5th. So Kyle cut his walks down to 1 today, but gives up the 2 home runs and departs with the Royals down by 3, and now Kyle Farnsworth takes over in the 8th.
Royals bullpen should be well rested with the off day on Thursday. Now, long outing for Zach Greinke here last night, where he handed off to Sorry at the end of the game.
And the Royals bullpen over the last 13 games has a 1.55 ERA. Randy Wynn came on defensively in the bottom of the 7th inning in right field for Nick Stavinoa. And so he stays on to lead off the 8th. Randy Wynn was 1 for 4 in last night's game with a double. One ball, one strike. 4th sellout of the year. And a little smaller crowd than last night, but over 38,000. 38,457. Last night, 38,916. Three balls, one strike. CB Buckner says no swing. Thank you, CB. It's always nice when they let you know what the call is.
You want that quick reaction. Act like you're in the game and you're enthused about being on the field.
I mean, come on, put your arms out at your sides like he did. Hold them out there for a while so everyone in the ballpark can see what the call is. Pulled to first, and Butler to the bag to get Randy Wynn. Let's get a preview of Boulevard Royals Live with Joel Goldberg.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Rivals, by the way, a big-time hotspot right now. Everybody watching the World Cup and the Royals. We will have Boulevard Royals Live coming up after the game. Talk about Blake Hawksworth keeping the Royals batters off balance. We'll hear from Ned Yost. Highlights, reaction, and much more coming up at a packed Rivals after the game, guys.
I don't know if you want people to think that Rivals is a hot spot on a day like today. I mean, it's a popular spot.
It was popular before the game, and it was hot before the game. I don't think it cooled down any.
Really?
But thanks to the tip, Joel, I'm glad to know what we're going to do in postgame.
Albert Pujols gets his first hit of the series, and it's a one-out single in the 8th inning. He had been 0 for 6 with a walk.
He had a little bit of a drought in the month of May. He went a week and a half without any RBIs and went a long period of time without any home runs, but he's been red hot in the month of June, but not so much here this weekend. The Royals have pitched him well overall.
They really have. He hit some balls well, but right at people, and Farnsworth leaves his pitch up as a breaking ball up out over the plate, and he squares it up again.
And now Holiday chops it to short. Betancourt has it bounce into his hand. No double play, but that thing went off of the heel of his glove, and he just grabbed it out of the air.
Well, Ewing does a good job just staying with this. It's a one shot at this ball here, and he did a good job working with the ball coming up. Got it up in the air, was able to grab it with his bare hand and make the force out at second base. But that's like, you just want to make sure you stop the ball right there and make sure you get one out. He's really played great defense.
So, Frank, are you saying you disagree with the statistics that suggest that Uni is the worst shortstop in the history of Major League Baseball?
Definitely. And whoever came up with those statistics never played.
And I think we're seeing a different player here than what they saw over the last month or two out in Seattle. I mean, clearly some things went wrong out there. He got going the wrong way, whatever happened. But he is certainly a different ball player right now with the Royals, and here especially in 2010, even more so than he was the second half of last year.
But I really can't see him as being the worst in the history of baseball. That's a big stretch.
Well, maybe guys, we tend to exaggerate from time to time.
I can name some.
Well, that's what some of those fancy statistics that try and measure range and defensive effectiveness would suggest. And a lot of those measurements are made by people that aren't here at the ballpark.
You know, I think a lot of it is not about the range of the player. It's about how often he catches the ball and make the routine play. You got some guys that are going to be a step slower or a step faster, but if both guys get there and make the routine play on a consistent basis, then they're quality shortstop. You're not going to find two guys with the same range.
Good fastball, 1-2 on Colby Rasmus. He had a 3-run home run in the 4th inning. He has 2 hits today and 4 in the first 2 games.
I think that's one of the really good battles off the field going on in baseball right now. You have the people that study the game by the stats and the things that they're able to come up with, and then you have the baseball people that study the game through the scout's eyes and what they see. And now as a GM or an owner, you have to try to blend that together. Certainly the numbers you want to be aware of and what somebody might think about your people, but I don't know that you want to totally get away from your baseball people either.
Well, I don't think you should. I mean, because like I say, if everybody was even in their range and their speed, you can measure it evenly with numbers, but you really can't. I would say measure the routine play and how often they make it.
Uni off to the side as he backs up into shallow center field. Cardinals are scoreless in the 8th.
Together, especially for the fans, the 2010 version of the I-70 series. Lots of great moments, and if you capture any of them on your cell phone cameras or whatever camera you have, or if you've got some friends here and you want to text them and do this right now, send them over to us at foxsportskansascity.com, and we'll try to get them on tomorrow after the game and some of the great moments from the series, guys.
All right, Joel. Scott Posednik flies out to left field on the first pitch of the bottom of the 8th inning. So 3 hits last night. Posednik is 0 for 4 today. Kyle McClellan pitching his 2nd inning and came on in relief in an emergency when Jason Mott delivered 1 pitch in the bottom of the 7th inning. Appeared to roll his ankle as he went stumbling off the mound. He wanted to stay in, but the Cardinals pulled him out. Now McClellan pitching a scoreless 7th, and now 1 out in the 8th. And ball 1 to Mike Aviles. Aviles is 2 out of 3. So he lost a 6-game hitting streak last night and starts a new one today. 2-1.
You can see on some of the Royals hitters the effect that Kevin Seitz is having on their approach at the plate, and Mike is one, and he's done an outstanding job of hitting the ball the other way, back through the middle. Posednik, Chris Getz, Caspo, all these guys have just really bought into this plan of Kevin's, and what they like about it is that he doesn't force them to alter their swing and alter their bat speed. He just stay back, see the ball, and drive it to left center field, drive it to center field, drive it to right center field. But he just a good approach to keeping him on the ball.
The Royals last night had 10 hits, but the Rangers had a big night, so they improved their team batting average. So the Royals at 280, the Rangers at 281 to lead the league. But remember, last year the Royals were 12th in the American League in hitting. David DeJesus with 2 hits, including a 2-run single in the 6th inning, turning a 5-0 game into a 5-2 game. But the Royals' biggest hit was followed by the Cardinals' 2 biggest outs when Jason Mott came on and got Billy Butler to ground into a double play with 2 on. Now 2 balls and no strikes onto Jesus. And now they have just announced that it was a right calf cramp that knocked Jason Mott out of the game.
No, that's his push out. That's his push out foot too, and I guess you go from a cramp to a pull if you continue. So they just wanted to get him out of there.
And on a day like today, if it's cramping now, it's not going to get any better.
No, not at all.
That gets through Freese and into left field. So David DeJesus has a 3-hit game after going 0 for 4 last night.
Well, you're playing in on the grass, and probably the last thing you expect, you're playing in for the bunt, and you don't expect to get a rocket right by you. And Freese just didn't have a one move to make, and that just didn't go in his glove.
Oh, 1 on Billy Butler. He has popped out, grounded out twice, once into a double play. And that was a big 2 outs for the Cardinals in the 6th. 2 runs home for the Royals, runners at first and third, and 1 out. Butler representing the tying run, but grounded into a 6-4-3 double play. Now he's down, no balls, 2 strikes. It was the 20th double play that Billy is grounded into. Albert Pujols grounded into his 13th double play earlier today. And double play, that obviously is not a positive statistic, but it is not rare that the leaders in the league, when you get this deep into the season, are good hitters, because you have to hit the ball hard, you have to hit the ball on the ground. I mean, you don't turn a double play on a slowly hit ground ball.
And those guys are right in the middle of the order too. And a lot of times you say you wish they could alter your swing and hit more fly balls, but you just can't do it. And their job is to center the ball, and you total up at the end of the year, they got their number.
So Billy has his first hit, and the Royals once again trying to put something together after 2 outs and nobody on.
A nice swing, and Billy just keeps the ball right in the middle there. Goes to right field when the ball's away, and slow the ball down, he can pull it in the hole.
Here are the ground into double play leaders in the American League. Billy Butler, Joe Mauer, Adrian Beltre, who's having a very good year for the Red Sox, Ryan Sweeney, Michael Kadire, Miguel Cabrera, Ty Wigginton, and Victor Martinez. That's a pretty good lineup.
That's a lineup of guys that can't run. So if you can get them to hit a ground ball in a key situation, because usually when they're hitting, it's key situation, and chances to break the game open. So if you can get them to dive into, to hit into double plays, then that'll be great.
Ryan Franklin, Cardinal closer, warming up. And so Jose Guillen, now he represents the tying run. 0 for 3 today. He's hit the ball hard twice. Grounded out sharply to third in the 2nd inning, and lined to second in the 7th. And Tony La Russa waiting until the last moment before coming out of the dugout, and now he'll take his time, presumably to allow Franklin to get every warm-up pitch that he needs. And now he will point to the bullpen and ask Ryan Franklin to get 4 outs today. Other Royal greats at Surprise, Arizona at Royals Alumni Fantasy Camp. That's coming up in February, and it's your chance to enter the world of Major League Baseball and live your dream to play with the Royals alumni. Fantasy Camp includes 2 personalized uniforms, your own clubhouse locker, an awards banquet, baseball cards, a camp video, and much more. Call 816-504-4150 or go to Royals.com for more information. And that 5th pitcher is closer Ryan Franklin. So he's going for his 15th save. And in order to get that, he's going to have to get 4 outs. With 2 outs and nobody on, David DeJesus and Billy Butler singled. And now it's Jose Guillen, 0 for 3, and trying to extend his hitting streak to 20 games. And that's into center field. He does extend the streak, and he drives in a run. It's 5-3.
Jose does a good job here. This ball really hit up around the trademark. Still didn't really square it up, but just keeps the ball in the center of the field and gets to a base hit and RBI. And you can see David streaking around the bases and takes his time as he crosses the plate.
That is the 7th streak of 20 or more games in Royals history. 0-1 on Alberto Callaspo. Alberto is 0 for 3. One ball, one strike. Ryan Franklin last year was a huge surprise and a blessing for the Cardinals. 2 years ago, the Cardinals led the major leagues in blown saves. So they gave the job to Ryan Franklin last year. He had 36 saves. That's off the glove of Molina, but Butler and Guillen will hold. Before last year, Ryan Franklin had 18 career saves, so that was spread out over his career. And Franklin coming up with 36 in 2009, helping the Cardinals win the division. Hold foul, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jose Guillen serving as ball boy to run that one down. He has really used the single well to extend his hitting streak. It was more than 2 weeks ago the last time Jose had an extra base hit.
And that's really surprising with his type of swing and the ability to get the ball in the air. You know, you'd think there'd be some doubles in there, an occasional home run. But a lot of the balls haven't been hit that well.
Pujols backs up into foul ground and makes the play. So the Royals get a run closer and trail by 2. Light tastes greatness moment. Jose Guillen sends his hitting streak to 20 games.
Well, after going 0 for 3, he comes up with a big hit on his fourth at bat, Ryan, and got an RBI in the process.
And now Blake Wood comes on, trying to hold the Cardinals right here. He will get David Freese, Yadier Molina, and Aaron Miles as the Cardinals see him for the first time. David Freese so far is 0 for 3. Kyle Davies went the first 7, gave up 5 runs. One of the runs was unearned. And then Kyle Farnsworth pitched a scoreless 8th. St. Louis getting a 3-run home run from Rasmus in the 4th and a 2-run home run from Schumacher in the 5th. Royals scored 2 in the 6th inning after the game was 5-0 on DeJesus' 2-run single, and then adding the run in the 8th. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Freese. Two and 2. A little bit inside and a full count.
Yeah, Blake's last few times out, his velocity's actually gone up. You know, he's been up to 97, 98, and when you do that, you're a sinker ball, everything kind of flattens out. And you want to get back to letting that ball sink and creating your ground balls.
It's a line drive to right field for Freese. An inside out swing. And the Cardinals have the leadoff man on. And let's see if the Cardinals do with Yadier Molina what they did with Brendan Ryan back in the 5th inning. Brendan Ryan was 0 for 12 at that point and batting .207. So Tony La Russa had him lay down a bunt, and Molina's giving it away already. He is 0 for 3 today, and now 0 for his last 11, and batting .237.
A lot of times they'll start like that, Ryan, and they'll pull it back to try to hold those corner guys back, and then they'll come back and bunt again.
He does not have a sacrifice bunt yet this year.
And this way you sell in the bunt to the guys on the corner, and as Blake Wood winds up, he goes back into his hitting stance, and that holds them back because they don't know what he's going to do, and then he goes into the bunt on the pitch.
Takes a strike from Blake Wood, and now checks in with third base coach Jose Akendo, who is looking into the dugout to get the sign from Tony La Russa. Callaspo comes way in at third, and Molina lays it down fair and will take the sure out. Callaspo to Aviles. Freese moves up to second base. And that was, we talk about one extreme when you don't accept the fact that it's a sacrifice and you run out too soon. Here's the other extreme. I mean, Molina waited for that thing to bounce 3 times before he left the batter's box.
Well, he probably figured I'm not going to be out. I'm not going to be safe anyway. Anytime you have a sacrifice bunt situation, the hitter should automatically tell himself he's going to be out. He should stay there, get the bunt down, see the bunt down, and then run.
Pitching coach Bob McClure out to visit with Blake Wood, Ryan Pena, and the entire Royals infield. Aaron Miles has 2 hits and a run scored. He's the next hitter. There's an open base. And after Aaron Miles is Brendan Ryan, who's 0 for his last 13. So a double in the third inning, a single and a run scored in the fifth. Miles coming home on the Skip Schumacher home run. Down and away, ball one. David Freese with a leadoff single, bunted to second base by Molina. Nice backhand grab by Pena, so that keeps Freese at second base, and the count is 2-0. And now 3 balls, no strikes. So not a role that Blake Wood is accustomed to being in since being called up, normally pitching in the 8th inning with the Royals ahead and setting up Joakim Soria. Getting some work today and trying to keep this a 2-run game for the bottom of the 9th. 3-1.
Facing a guy like Aaron Miles, he's not a tall guy, so that means you got to keep the ball down in the zone to him. And he just makes contact. He's going to make you work a lot harder. But the key thing is just throwing strikes. When you don't throw strikes at all, then you create a problem for yourself.
So there was an open base, and now the Royals can think about a ground ball and a double play against a struggling hitter. And Brendan Ryan is hitting at .205. He has 2 fly balls to right field today, as well as a sacrifice bunt. He is 0 for his last 13. Ball one inside.
Yeah, Blake has really been off the corners, Ryan. The thing with a single ball pitcher, you talk to most of them that have been doing it for a long time, is that you have to throw the ball at the center of the plate. If your ball's got natural movement, you don't want to throw it to the corner because it's going to move off the plate. Just throw it in the middle of the plate and let it work from there.
Two and 0.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I think this is when Ryan Pena should just sit right in the middle of the plate. Don't even move to the corner. Just sit right in the middle of the plate and see what the ball does.
Well, as you say that, Brian may have said that exact same thing because he just sprinted out to the mound for about a second and went back behind the plate.
I can't recall the last time Blake Wood has been this inconsistent on the mound.
Well, he was set up over the middle of the plate, and that ball moving down and in, and it's 3-0. Left-hand hitting Skip Schumacher, who has a 2-run home run today, is on deck. And Dusty Hughes, a lefty, is warming up behind Blake Wood. Three and 1. So he was 3-0 on Miles through a strike. And then Miles walked. Now 3-0 on Brendan Ryan, a .205 hitter, and throws a strike. Full count.
We kind of saw that coming. 3-1 count, and a struggling hitter. He wasn't going to swing the bat unless he really has to. So this is what you're going to get when you struggle. You get guys who aren't swinging the bat well. They say, "You're a little wild. I'm going to make you throw me strikes. I'm not going to swing until it's time to swing." So 3-2, he may swing, but Blake Wood's got to get in the strike zone.
Grounded to the right side, Butler fields, and he'll take the out at first. So Blake Wood gets to the bag in front of Brendan Ryan. Freese moves up to third base, and Miles to second. And Ned Yost is out of the dugout. With Dusty Hughes warmed up in the bullpen, and Skip Schumacher coming up. And there's the call to the bullpen. So runners at second and third, 2 down in the ninth. So Dusty in this series for the first time, his 30th appearance overall. And he'll get Skip Schumacher, who hit a 2-run home run in the 5th inning and has 4 hits in the series. And that after he hit .385 against the Royals last year. So Freese at third, Miles at second, and Schumacher digging in. Schumacher has done better against left-hand pitching than he has right-hand pitching. Two balls and no strikes.
That's the pitch right there, that fastball that Dusty really wants to be able to get to the outside part of the plate. They left it on the inside corner, and really against left-handers, lefty versus lefty, you have to make the hitter reach. And if you don't get that ball to the other side of the plate, they're going to have a good chance to hit you.
And trying to get to the other side of the plate, he missed outside. Switch hitter on deck, Randy Wynn, and then Albert Pujols. 3 balls and 1 strike. Schumacher, another homegrown Cardinal, a 5th-round pick in 2001. He walks, and they are loaded up for Randy Wynn. This is that point of the game, Frank, and I've seen it happen so many times. A very hot day game, and this game's moved along well so far. But as soon as there's a lull and the guys stop moving around, many times something bad happens. There's an error or a wild pitch, or maybe even worse than that.
Well, the defense has definitely been put at ease out there on defense. They were heads up there for a while, but the longer you go, the more difficult it is for those guys to move out there.
Not this time around. Randy Wynn grounds out, and the Cardinals leave the bases loaded. as the Cardinals try to even the series. Ryan Franklin going for a 4-out save. He gave up Jose Guillen's 2-out RBI single in the 8th inning, but then retired Alberto Callaspo. And now in the bottom of the 9th, it's Brian Pena, Mitch Meyer, and Yuniesky Betancourt. Curveball for a strike to Brian. He is 1 for 3 with a single in the 7th inning. Into left field, Matt Holliday is there, and there is one down in the 9th. Like so many relief pitchers before him, Ryan Franklin was not happy at first when he was moved to the bullpen. And that was a decision that was made when he was with the Philadelphia Phillies. Began his career with the Seattle Mariners as a starter, but when he was with the Phillies, Charlie Manuel moved him to the bullpen. He did not like that move. 0-2 to Mitch Meyer. He was on his way out of the major leagues as a starter with a career record of more than 20 games below 500. Still 0-2 on Meyer. So he didn't like the idea at first, and like a lot of other starters, they see it as a demotion. But now Ryan Franklin says that Charlie Manuel saved his career.
Well, I wonder if he ever called him and said thank you. A lot of times at this level, Ryan, it's all about what do I have to do to stay here? And you got to lose the ego pretty quick, especially if the numbers are telling you that you're going in the wrong direction. So if you're not willing to make that change, then you will be out of the game. So it takes a guy like Charlie Manuel, who had the perception of maybe this guy can be a bullpen guy, to say, okay, this is why I think you're better. If guys never made those suggestions to guys, look how many guys would be out of the game right now.
So 2 down, nobody on, and now Yuniesky Betancourt. Strike one. Uni is 0 for 3 with a run scored. And losing to the Royals last night, that knocked the Cardinals out of first place. They lost. The Reds won their 4th in a row. So the Reds with a half-game lead. Up the middle, Ryan charges, throws, and the Cardinals have even the series. So it is a 4-out save for Ryan Franklin, and the Cardinals win 5-3. We'll be right back.